Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
Today on City Cast Pittsburgh, we're in that liminal space between Christmas and New Year's when most of us aren't working in the usual ways, and depending on your situation, time can feel sort of like an accordion. So we're here this week to talk about a few things to keep you busy. It's Tuesday, December 26th. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh is talking about. I'm with my right-hand gal, interim executive producer, Marylee Williams. Your title is such a mouthful. So did you get anything good over the holiday?
You know, I kind of suck at all presents forever.
Not your love language?
No, gifting is not my love language. It is actually really awkward because, like, when someone gives me a gift and I'm not expecting it, I get I'm just like, oh, thanks. And then I'm like, I didn't get you anything. And I just freak. I just start shaking. But I do try to get myself a little something. And one thing I actually like to give myself when I can, or when I have the space to do it, is I actually really like to go get piercings.
Is there a place in Pittsburgh that you would recommend doing that?
Yes, there are two places where I've gotten piercings and I've had really wonderful experiences there. So I kind of divide up where I get my piercings depending on where on my ear it is. So for my lobes, which are like the nice soft thing, little thingies. Everyone knows what a lobe is. Why am I explaining
it?
Yes. In earlobe, I went to Saints and Sinners in Shadyside, and it just looks like a tattoo place, but they do piercings as well. And I just walked in there and got 2 piercings. But for my cartilage piercings, I go to 616, which is also in Shadyside. And that place I just really like because all they do there are piercings, and they have a really, really nice selection of jewelry. And part of it is when I do a cartilage piercing, that jewelry ain't moving. I'm not changing that jewelry. And so I really want to pick something that's really nice that I am going to wear forever.
Well, Marylee, what if you haven't gotten yourself or a loved one a gift yet?
Well, if you're like me and are terrible at remembering to get gifts, you can give someone the gift of becoming a member of City Cast. So we're offering this up.
Sneaky, yes.
I know. You can do this. And as part of the membership, along with just making us super happy because you're one of our founding members, you'll also get the chance to have ad-free listening. You'll get VIP access to any upcoming events that we have. And you'll just know in your heart that you supported our wonderful team and all the information we're giving to you and everyone in the city.
It's really important. We really appreciate it, too. If you're interested, all your need-to-knows are online at membership.citycast.fm. So, Marylee, what do you typically like to do in Pittsburgh this week when you aren't getting additional piercings?
Yeah, when that isn't taking up all of my time. So if I'm in town, I really, really love to take my bike out and use it as much as I can, because the city is obviously a bit more empty during this time. And if you can handle the cold, it's really nice. I mean, all you need are some layers, gloves, maybe some neck coverings and a hat. And it's just so nice to get out when the city's a little bit sleepier.
I've done so much good trail exploring that week. It's really, really fun.
It is. And I think people think because it's cold, going outside isn't possible. But that's not necessarily true. Obviously, you
just wear more layers. It's that weird Pittsburgh space when it's cold but also warm in other spaces, so you have to dress for 4 seasons all at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So, but if I am out and I'm biking, I will occasionally make a little pilgrimage to the spot on the Three Rivers Heritage Trail where
I know where this is going.
where I biked myself into the river. I don't actually...
You have to tell people this story. It's so funny.
It is. It's funny now. When it happened, it was quite tragic.
It's funny because you are fine.
Yes, I am fine, everyone. I am okay. So let me take you back. It was January 2020. We were all very different people then. Mm-hmm. So much stuff has happened since then. I had just moved to Pittsburgh like a month ago. And my then boyfriend, now husband, and I were going to go see Hair, the musical, at the Pittsburgh Musical Theater. Mm-hmm. I live in Lawrenceville, and we decided we were going to meet there on bike. It's like about a 40-minute ride. You know, it's a long ride, but I decided that I was going to take the Three Rivers Heritage Trail only because it's a little bit safer. I'm not on roads. You know, it's
really well lit. Yeah, I get it.
Well, yeah, well lit is that's relative given the store.
Spot. I was about to say, it's supposed to be well lit.
Yeah. So I suited up in all my cold weather gear. I had a couple layers on, some waterproof stuff, and I hopped on my bike. And it was drizzling a little bit. And when it's drizzling, the sidewalk and the river look very like suspiciously similar. So I was on the North Shore. I was on that side of the Three Rivers Heritage Trail. And I was just cruising. I was going pretty fast. And I get to this spot that I think a lot of people might be familiar with, but might not notice unless you followed in the river and now are like haunted by this spot. But basically, it's that spot that's right after PNC Park, but before the water steps, where the trail goes from being very wide to being very narrow. And part of the reason for this is this kind of like dock-looking thing. And I come up to this point and I just fly off the edge. I mean, just like
ET style,
like,
just
yeah,
right
like,
off into the river.
Like it was really fast. And I just like flew into the river, and I cannot quite describe the sensation of being on land and then being in the air and then being in cold river water. I experienced all sensations simultaneously, like the feeling of the wind and being like, this isn't right. And then the feeling of the cold water and being like, this is really not right. So, yeah,
But flash forward, you were okay.
Yes.
You recovered your bicycle too, right?
I did recover the bicycle, and it sits in my basement now as some like cursed relic that I refuse to ride anymore, but I can't get rid of it because I'm like, what if I give it to someone and they bike in the river?
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool. It helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/pixelnba. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements.
Well, when they aren't falling into rivers accidentally in the winter, is there anything that you would recommend for someone who's maybe new to the city versus, I don't know, now that you've been here a while? Any pro tips?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things I would recommend, especially if you're new to the city. There's like two things about Pittsburgh when I was new to the city that I really loved and I feel like more people should do. First off, the libraries here. Obviously, the hours of the library might be a little bit changed or shortened or something. So check your local library times. But really go and explore the libraries. I live in Lawrenceville.
Yes.
I'm a couple blocks away from the one on Fisk Street. And I love my little library. It's so beautiful. And it's such a great place. Like you can find out what's happening in your neighborhood. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite libraries in town that I would like very much recommend somebody check out is the library on Mount Washington, and it is on Grandview Avenue. It's like right there in front of the big view, and it's such an amazing library. It's like new. There was a lot of renovations. It's really great because you can explore these books. You can see what the library has to offer. It's not too big, and there's just like so much stuff to do around it. But then on top of that, I would just say like explore the parks in town. Pittsburgh has a shocking amount of parks. So if you're new to the city, I would recommend hitting up the big three: Frick, Shinley, and Highland Park. Those are the three, like, classic parks in town. And if you have been in Pittsburgh for a while and you're looking for something to do, I actually would recommend also getting out, but I would recommend doing some city hikes. So I feel like there is this idea that if you want to experience nature in Pittsburgh, obviously you can go to the parks, but if you want to go on a hike, you need to leave the city. I don't actually think that's true. I think that there is a lot of amazing hiking in this city, and I think that this time of year is a great time to do it. Of course, go when the seasons change, experience all the seasons, but I really like hiking in the winter and in this time because it's a little quieter. You really get to reflect a little bit more. And I think a lot of people think you can't winter hike, but it's just about clothing. So I would recommend the Emerald View Trail. It's this like fun urban hike. You end up crossing roads, then you're in nature. I kind of like the dichotomy of being in a city and then being in nature.
So we are 5 days now to 2024. Do you have any New Year's resolutions or maybe Pittsburgh bucket list items or anything you want to do next year?
Every year I have the same New Year's resolution, and I haven't broken it in a while, which is that I don't want to break a bone because I've broken like 7 bones. And then I'm a very breakable person. Falling in rivers obviously doesn't help, but I didn't break a bone then. But
she's fragile.
I'm very fragile. So every year I say my New Year's resolution is to not break another bone. So obviously that's always one. But the other New Year's resolution I have, which if I manage to do it, I will be able to accomplish it very soon, which is that I really want to do Frigid Bitch this year.
Oh, yeah. That badass bike race for women and non-binary people. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, it is an awesome bike race. And I've actually almost always been out of town every year that it's been happening.
Because it's always in February.
Yeah. And it's kind of a weird time. So I'm from Louisiana. And so I usually end up going home around February because we're getting closer to Mardi Gras. And I just tend to go see my family around that time. But I really want to do it. I want to be that cool. And I'm excited to try it, or at least try to start training for it. Even if I can't do it this year, I do want to go on some of the training rides, which you can find by just looking up Pittsburgh Babes on Bikes.
Very cool. Well, Marylee, we will encourage you to get on your bike as much as possible. We can promise that in the new year. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. All the things. I hope you have a wonderful week completely away from work.
Well, same to you as well, Megan. And I guess I'll see you on the trails.
That's all for today here on City Cast Pittsburgh. Reminder, if you need to fill some time this week, you can find all of our shows, old and new, on our website. That's pittsburgh.citycast.fm. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more tips for this week throughout the city. We'll talk to you then.
I'm ready whenever you are. Can't wait to share my trauma with everyone.